Hey everybody, this is Hunter from Gator Games again, coming at you with a new video. I want to do something a little different this time around. I decided that we'd do this new segment. I'm going to call this Swamp Talk. I think it's something a little different. I want to talk about something not related to orcs for once, because, they're fun, but there's other stuff going on in the game and in your life probably. So this will be our first talk about the swamp. And I want to bring up community. Community is what drives us to play this game that we love. And I think it's what keeps the game alive. So let's talk about that. So before I start yapping at you about community and how to build it and what that means for Warhammer 40,000, I think it's important to tell you a little bit about who I am. I don't think I've done this with the channel yet either. So for those of you who don't know me, I mean, I think many of my viewers do because you play in my tournaments, you come to the events at our store. So who am I? My name's Hunter. I was a high school English teacher for 2 years, and now I'm teaching community college English as well. I started this hobby back, I guess, originally in the pandemic, but I knew of Warhammer before that. I had friends who played. I watched the games. I played the games. I bought my first box during COVID, as many of you probably did. So I'm not, despite being 30, I'm pretty new to the community, pretty new to the game in general. But a little bit about me more. I've been to 12 events since I started playing, try to go to a tournament every month, and then quickly it became me running my own events. So between today and I think about a year and a half ago, I've run about 12 events, and I've been to one major GT, Crucible in Orlando. That was a lot of fun. So if anybody is worth talking to you about community, I think I'd be a pretty good shoe in for that. So I think this video topic is definitely up my alley. Community is what brought me into the hobby. I don't think I would still be playing today if I didn't have people to play with and a place to play and people to talk to about the game. I think that's really what drives us. So before we talk about building community and what that might mean for you in your area, I want to define what I think is community first. So very simply, like base definition, community is a group of people who gather around a shared interest. This could be your family, it could be people you do other things with, the gym, right? We're all part of many communities. And I think we need to start seeing tabletop gaming as more than just like a hobby, but like community building too. Um, right? Like I'm part of a writing community as well as this Warhammer community, and I see a lot of overlap there, right? Like when I'm in my writing community, we write and we read each other's work, we critique each other, we grow. I think the same thing is happening on the tabletop, but we just see it in a different way, maybe a different light. You play games with people, you roll dice, you talk about how the game went. How could I play that better? How could I use that unit better? You talk about your paint jobs. How could I copy that paint job? How could I learn painting skills from you to make myself a better painter? So I think that's important. That's an aspect that we can't be missing out on in terms of community building and growing. Your FLGS sort of becomes like a second home. If many of you have heard of that, what's the moniker they call it? Like third places was like a big talking point. I remember like when I was first in college about community growth is like people need this extra space to be themselves and play games and experience life and other people. And many of the people I've been playing Warhammer with, and I've been going to the same store for over 10 years, and I've known these people for more than 10 years. And, that's how I found the hobby through them. So I think community gives us like a source of validation, connection, and also support. You don't think about the third one often in terms of like tabletop gaming, but there is a lot of support there. If you're going through a hard time, I would love to just hit up the guys and be like, hey, let's play some games. I want to take my mind off things. I'm sure like it's a great way to do that. Especially like, yeah, I'm a teacher, right? So over the summers, I have a ton of free time. I think spending that playing Warhammer and being in public is better than being locked in my house. So I think it's valuable that way. Um, to that point, half of the hobby is very solitary, right? Like you're sitting in your home, you're sitting by yourself, building miniatures, huffing that plastic cement, um, painting, airbrushing, priming. There's so many parts of the process that require you to be alone that I think we need to close a little bit of that gap, right? That feedback loop. It's like I built this unit and then I played with it. I know how it works. I know what kind of paint job I want for it. And then someone looks at it and comments on the paint job. So it's like you need this, right? Like action validation, response from people. Like it's a very human human need that we have. So that's pretty vital, right? I think to be successful people, you need feedback. You need to hear about the things you're doing and how you can do them better. You also can't play the game alone, right? Like games are made to be played in groups, so we can't ignore that. And you can't improve in your playing without playing with other people. There's only so much knowledge you have or that you can gain from yourself. So you have to watch videos. You have to go to the store and play, right? Or hear other people. What are their experience? And also without inviting people to join the hobby, without having that space for people to feel comfortable, to play the game, to learn the game, and other types of tabletop games, not just Warhammer, we sort of lose that hobby. We lose that valuable cultural asset to us. So I think it's important that we don't act just as arbiters of competitive play, but we're building a space and we're letting people into our thing. And I think it should be welcoming, and people should be encouraged to bring whatever they have to the table for that. Like not everybody, we're not building tournaments just for the first place player, right? I want everyone who comes to my events to enjoy themselves, have a good time, and come back again. That's that's why I do it. I'm not doing this for money. I'm not doing this for my own reasons. I'm doing it because other people enjoy doing it and I want them to be happy while they do it. So in that vein, that's why I think community is important, and that's why I think building it and growing it is important. So before we go deeper into things, I think I want to give you this metric, or I want to give you this like framework for how I see community. So I'm going to break it down into 4 different things. I think there are 4 things that define community, and I've learned a little bit of this through teaching, and some of the stuff I've been reading that I think applies to our hobby too. So there are 4 pillars, I think, to community building. There's you. I'm going to start with that. You, not just like you as in the player or whatever, or the event organizer, but you yourself in general. Others, right? It's not just me, it's me and everyone else. It's a game that requires multiple players. So there's that. You need a place, and then you need a way to communicate. These I'm going to define these more deeply, but this is a good way to thinking about it. You, others, a place, and communication, or a way to communicate. In teaching, we often use this idea. We talked about you need the 4 pillars to educate, and I think the same applies here. You need like the student, the teacher, the parent, and administration. I don't know. If one of those fails, then the chair doesn't stand up, right? They're like legs of a chair. I think the same kind of applies here. Like you can use 3 of them. You need at least 3, but all 4 is a successful community, right? You can't have a chair with 2 legs, right? It can't just be me and other people. We also need a place, and we need to communicate. We can't just have the communication with us and other people without a place. If there's nowhere to play the game, you can find a place, But that's why I said 3 is good, because maybe then you can communicate and find a place. Or if there are people and they have a place and they can communicate, but they don't have someone to organize things, that's where you can step in. So I'll go a little deeper into these things. We'll start with you. So starting with you, I think the first question you should raise is, why do I want to build community? What am I doing this for? What's my reason? And this could be for many things. For some people, it could just be you want to have a regular game group that you meet up once a week and you play Warhammer or Kill Team, whatever it is, whatever tabletop game, right? D&D. I think this applies to any tabletop game. Like, ask yourself why you want to do this. Do you want to create a more competitive space for tournaments? Do you want to bring together people from cities over to your place and invite them in to play the game on an equal level? Tournament plays, right? Organized play, match play. Do you want to do more narrative events? Do you want to have people run a crusade for 40K? Or do you want to bring people in to play Trench Crusade and tell a story, in a short little span of time? Or do you want to build a hobby space? Do you want people to hone their craft, paint more, build more, kit bash, come up with interesting terrain, building things, telling a story through your art, right? Because this is an art. That's why I think the writing stuff I brought up earlier applies as well, because it is an art, right? Like, you're building things to present to other people and they get a reaction from it. That's what art does to people. So ask yourself why. Why am I doing this? Is there a specific group I want to reach into? Is there a game system that I really like? Like, why am I building this thing? Then I think the next step becomes educating yourself. So what do I mean by this? I don't just mean like sitting there and reading, right? Or like reading rule books. Like, there's other things that I think are essential to educating yourself, to building community around tabletop gaming, right? This could be game systems. So formulating some knowledge on game systems, like how to play Kill Team, how to play 40K, how to play Old World, right? Reading Trench Crusade. So like knowing what game systems exist can help you build community, because then you'll know how to talk to people who play those game systems, or you can branch out, bring those people in. Maybe if they like Trench Crusade, they might like Kill Team, right? There's a little bit of overlap there. So it's one way of thinking about it. For whatever game you do get interested in that you want to build community around, read the rules. I'm sure you hate hearing that. I don't know. Like 40K just came out with a new core rules. I had to read those for 11th edition. I've read them 3 times now. Why have I read them 3 times? Well, if people ask you a question about how to play the game, you should probably have an answer, especially if you want to be a tournament organizer. People are going to ask questions about the rules. You should be the person people come to understanding the rules. That is part of community building. Like, you become a person like, oh, okay, this guy's really knowledgeable on the rules, so I'm going to ask him a rules question. They'll feel more comfortable asking you if you know. Hobby techniques would be good things to educate yourself on. How to kit bash, what are some painting techniques to learn, so that if you have a hobby night or something, you can be the person there that people look up to, right? Like, I think community building, as much as it's about bringing people together, I think it's about improving yourself too. So like, becoming knowledgeable is going to encourage other people to become knowledgeable, right? Or you have the skills that people are going to come to you for. I think some niche skills are probably worth recognizing too. How to edit videos, make videos, like other niche things. 3D printing is really big right now. If you want people to play games, they need figures, they need terrain. If you can provide those things, you're closing the gap in accessibility that brings more people in. So educate yourself, train yourself, more than just on playing the game, but facilitating the game. Next, I'm going to go into attitudes, because I think how you present yourself is also an aspect of what community you want to build, because your community is going to sort of reflect who you are, not just the people you want, but the people you are. Because the people who come to you for the community it's probably because of who you are also. It's not just because of the game. So here's some archetypes. I know people are unique and everybody's different, but here's some archetypes of people that I find in the hobby or other organizers that I see, that these are some personality types that maybe aren't so conducive to building community. So maybe if you fall under one of these categories, some reflection is good, and maybe I'm not perfect either, but it's something to think about. So if you like to play to win, it might be hard for you to build community because you have to let other people share the limelight if you want them to keep coming back. So play to win is not super conducive for community building or even like positive community work. If you're a loner, if you're a very solitary person, that's not to say you don't deserve community or that you can't be a part of a community, but if you want to organize things, you have to be able to talk to people and you have to want to talk to people. And I know that's hard for a lot of us. Some people come to the hobby because it can be sort of a solitary thing, but working on that is important. Sometimes I don't want to talk to people. I know that might sound crazy considering I upload a video every week and I play Warhammer 2 to 3 times a week. But sometimes I like being alone also, but balancing that is useful. You could be a bad rules lawyer also. The rules lawyer is a personality to think about, or, just check yourself a little bit. It's good to be educated on the rules. It's good to have that information, but weaponizing it is off-putting. Or if you get an interpretation wrong, that might sour somebody's whole experience with your tournaments or just even playing the game locally in your scene. So yeah, like be knowledgeable on your rules, but don't weaponize them, and don't give people too much a hard time. Like navigate whether or not someone gets a rule wrong on purpose for their benefit or just them not knowing things. There is a difference, which goes into my next personality type to avoid or to look out for is the sore loser. So this one's a tough one, right? Because sore losers, it could be people who just want to win, but they want to win at all costs. So this could be misinterpreting rules. They could be unsportsmanlike if they start losing. Um, and I think we can get emotional sometimes. Like everybody's, I've certainly gotten upset at Warhammer games before, or someone has thought I was upset. I remember specifically like just conceding one game and someone asked me like, "Hey, are you okay?" And I was just like, "No, I just wasn't having a good time." So, you can step away from a game and you can concede and that's fine. But, how you present yourself while doing it matters. So I would avoid being a sore loser, or if that's something you struggle with, then work on it. And you might be a better community member for it. And the opportunist. This might be a harder one to understand. What is an opportunist? To me, in the hobby scene, or at least for community building, I think the opportunist would be someone who's like, what am I doing this for? Oh, to get store credit. And that's a little sour with me, right? Like I do occasionally get some kickbacks from tournaments, but there's some times where I've just put in, whatever they were going to give me for prize support as an organizer, because it is work, right? Like what we do is work, but there's a difference between, taking and providing, right? Like I want to provide the space to give everybody the chance to play this game and enjoy it together. And I should be compensated, but I'm not doing it for the compensation. Like I do, like compensation for me is people showing up and enjoying themselves. That is also compensation. and knowing that they're going to come back someday. And you'll get kickbacks other ways. So I don't think, we're not doing this for the store credit. We're doing this to build a group, to build a community, and encourage people to play the game on an equal and fair and balanced playing field. So here's some ways that you should conduct yourself. I think you should be an advocate for people in general. We do this through judging, we do this through TOing. If there's a rules problem, you're an advocate for both people, right? I want both people to enjoy the game, so that's why I come in with my impartial ruling and move the thing on, right? So you're an advocate that way. We're also an advocate for everybody who plays tabletop games. By organizing events, you're an advocate for that space and that community. Being the life of the party. Everybody wants to have fun, so cut loose sometimes, right? Like you can be a judge and you can have fun, but be clear with people when you're doing one and when you're doing the other, right? Like don't try to have fun with people because of the rules. That's a little weird. So yeah, be fun. Encourage people to have fun. We do this through like raffles, best painted, best sportsman, being there in that moment, walking from table to table, having a reaction when someone makes a crazy dice roll, having a reaction when someone does something incredible or makes some kind of connection they didn't make before, which also goes into being an educator. I think as a community organizer, you should strive to be an educator, about not just the rules, but socializing, right? Like, what are some ways, like, if people are having difficulties, be honest with them, be upfront with them. Be kind, but also educate people when they're doing something wrong or they're doing something that makes other people feel unwelcome. And that's a hard one. And maybe that's a whole other video in itself, but education is important for you and for them. Be a friend. If you know someone's having a hard time, approach them about it, right? Like, I've been playing tournaments long enough now that I know people from all of South Florida, who play in events or do their own events. And I've made relationships with these people. And I think it's gone far to like help me as an organizer and help them too. And don't be afraid to experiment. I think trying new things is always cool. And I think people are receptive to that when you do try new things. So don't be afraid to experiment. So what's the work involved? I've talked a lot about how we should be, who we are, how do we act, but I think there is a little bit of work involved in the hobby. And what might that work be? The work that I like, these would be the things I would call work. Being up to date on all your rules, being up to date. This is hard. There's always changing rules. But for whatever game system you're following, or, even if you're playing card games, be up to date on things. If there's a ruling, you should be aware, especially if you're a tournament organizer or a judge. Be aware of the rules changes, new additions, new releases. These are all things to know, and they help you participate in the other parts of the hobby, right? Just because I'm an orc guy doesn't mean that I shouldn't know about, like Thousand Suns coming out with a new release. Like, why not? Gives me something to talk about with the other people. Navigating emotions. This is tough. As an educator, I think I have a little skill in this category, but not everybody is as equipped. So learning how to navigate your emotions and other people's emotions is very crucial for building a community. Like, how do people interact with each other? Who has a hard time playing games with who? It's good things to be aware of, because you don't want to start fights. You don't want to make anyone feel unwelcome. And if someone's upset, our job is not to tell them they're wrong for being upset, but it's figuring out why they're upset and how we can make things better for them in the future. That's a hard one. That could be a video in and of itself. Organizing events, that is work. I will call that work. Absolutely. Specifically for Warhammer 40,000, putting up terrain and setting up the tables was tough in 10th edition. It's a little easier now in 11th. but organizing events, like having the space, communicating with the store you're playing at, um, acquiring the resources, so making sure that you have terrain, dice, chess clocks, maps, tables, facilities. These are all things that you have to make sure are in place when you're organizing events. So that is work, right? Like the organizing events part is the most work part of the entire thing. But if you do it right and you know how you're doing it and you've done it a couple times, this gets easier. So it starts off as hard work and just sort of becomes softer, light work down the road, but definitely requires some investment. And communication. This is also hard work. Is it harder than organizing events? Maybe, sometimes. Knowing who to talk to about what, how to get help when you need help, how to ask players what they need. This is work too. And you know, I think our world wants us to communicate less or wants us to communicate in a certain way. So making people feel welcome and open and able to ask questions and communicate with you is essential. That is work as well. And the last thing I think for you personally, if you want to build community, communication. This is a big deal, right? Not just communicating back and forth with people, but like make a Discord. Make a Discord for people to interact in your local area. Does your shop already have a Discord? Can you make a Warhammer segment or whatever game system you're playing segment of that Discord for people to gather and talk about rules, new releases, things like that? Like give them the space online as well as in person. But also be clear about how people are representing themselves and what things, like let's keep it to our game and not break anybody's feelings by bringing up things that are not related, which can be hard. And I think people can be off topic, and that's fine. But finding that balance is tough. And be present. So don't just be someone who pops in and says something every once in a while. Pop in every day and say something, interact with people, build relationships, have that consistent communication. Not just with these players, but also other TOs, other organizers. Those are good relationships to build. So communicating with them and making friends with them is essential for your success as well. So now let's get into others. This is the second pillar. We talked about you already. Others, who do I mean by this? I mean everyone playing the game. This is the people you're building things for. So finding out who you're building community for is just as essential as finding out why you're doing it yourself. So ask yourself that question. Who am I building this for? What are the people that I want to gather and play this game with? Whatever game it is, doesn't matter. So develop a plan. This is the first step. Develop a plan for what you want to do. How do you want to get these people involved after you know who you want to get involved? This could be anything from like starting leagues. I run a league once a month or every other month, right? 2-week rounds. There's some kind of rewards thing that lines up with a community night or a hobby event. So leagues are a good way to do this. Running regular tournaments. If your community is more of a competitive scene, tournaments are probably your best in with those people. Same with leagues, because it's that competitive mindset, right? We're going to play our games regularly on a schedule with the most updated rules, and then we're going to gather and use that practice that we've used. So leagues, tournaments for the more competitive players. Then if you're on the more narrative or more fun side of things, fun hammer type stuff, I think community nights are great. So if your group is more casual, plan a community night, right? Just regular 1,000 point games where two people get together and fight another two people. So it's even less competitive. It's half size armies, and you're working together with someone else to beat two other people. I think that's a fun way to do it. So organizing community nights, Hobby nights, if you have more of an artist type crowd. Hobby nights, work in progress Wednesday, painting competitions. These are excellent ways to get people into the miniature hobby or make them feel welcome in the miniature hobby. If somebody doesn't win their first painting competition, well, maybe they'll practice up. Maybe they'll come back next time. Or they'll ask questions of that person who won and gain some techniques that way, right? Building the relationships. And plus, you can put little incentives, right? If you buy in for maybe some paints, the winner gets some paints or something, or there's a gift certificate from the store if your store is willing to support through prize money, things like that. Great ways to get people in. Stores love offering the prize support because, well, one, if there's a buy-in, it's already the store's money anyways. And two, the store wants to move the product because if they move the product, they can get more product, and that keeps things fresh for the people coming in trying to get into your hobby. It's better than them coming in and finding models that are old that don't support the game systems so they can't go and play at other places. So, encouraging people to support your local store is another way, right? If you have a bunch of locals, right? Like, I don't know, run more things at the local store if that's where people are, right? Organize where the people are. Ask people what they want. Also, you don't have to just shoot into the dark. People will tell you what they want to do. If there's not enough tournaments going on in your area, they'll probably tell you. And then that's something you can fill in that blank and you can provide that thing for them that they didn't have previously. So ask the people what they want. Ask them how the last thing went. There's nothing better than getting feedback from people after you run an event or something. I would love to hear what people say. I am always trying to make my next event better. So people will always have something to say to me about that. How could things be improved? Just some simple questions that you could be asking. I'm also an advocate for helping out others in the spaces and in these communities as well. Because if you help someone else out, they are going to be more willing to help you in the future, right? I scratch your back, you scratch mine, and it's not holding that over somebody, right? Like, oh, you can't do this thing for me now, but I helped you with this tournament 3 months ago. Not the way to do it. What I'm saying is, well, I know the tournament at this shop 2 cities over, they don't have enough terrain. Oh, well, I'm going to play in their tournament. I'll bring a couple things of terrain over. And I've done that before. And I think that's a great idea. And I have a close relationship with the guy who runs those tournaments there now. So it's mutually beneficial for both of us. So ask people what they need help with, ask what else needs to happen. And you want to build this relationship because you want to be able to run better events in the future or bigger events. And you can't run bigger events unless you have more people willing to volunteer their time, energy, resources, and support. So build those relationships, use the others in your community to build that community because they are the community as much as you are. They're an essential part to this. And that's why I think others is the second pillar. All right, well, the video is getting a little long now, so I'm going to try to breeze through these last two if I can in an effective manner for you. So, the third thing that I want to talk about, our third leg on our chair, is the place. Place is important. Without the place, we can't support the playing of the games that we like, right? So, I think they're very important. Now, these could take a number of options. There could be a number of things that could be your place. So a couple examples, there's the friendly local game store, your FLGS is essential. It's a pillar of your community already. It already probably supports a few different game systems. And if you have a conversation with that store owner, they might want to be supporting more if they can, because it means more money in their pocket and it means more space for your people to play your games. Then you have the Warhammer stores, the official stores related to the things that we enjoy. Warhammer's a little different in that regard. I don't think a lot of other hobbies have that kind of thing. Maybe except for like actual sports. Um, tournament venues are also important places to consider in terms of where you're playing and why you're playing there. So, is there a space to play? Is the first question that you should ask. If your community doesn't have a space to play, there's it's not much of a community. It's just a bunch of people who need a place. Then I would think, is there food nearby? You can't just have the place to play the game. You can't forget that like we're human too, right? Like we have like bodily functions. Like you need AC, you need food nearby, you need water, you need snacks, you need like there's so much involved in the place part that people don't think about too much. Maybe until after they start trying to run events and those things become concerns. And then also like policies. Are there policies to playing in that place that you're at? Right? Do people have to pay to use a table? Are there enough tables? Is the space too small? Does it get hot when there's a lot of people in there? Maybe you shouldn't run big events. Things to consider. These are all important aspects of community. And then I think an important aspect too is that it's like I said before, it's not about the store credit. It's not necessarily about trying to get a job with the store or making sure that the store stays afloat. That's not our job, right? That's on the store. But through what we do, it sort of supports them. The store credit is nice, it helps, but that's not the whole reason we're doing this. And plus, if you're trying to play at a Warhammer store, unless you're the guy running the store, I don't know about organizing so much in that space because that gets a little weird, right? There's only so many things you can do at that specific store. Like I said before, is there terrain? Are there tables? Is there AC? Are there bathrooms that are clean and that people can access successfully? Snacks and water. If your store or the place you're running these things doesn't have one of these things, how can you reasonably provide one of these things if they don't? That's a tough one, right? Tables are expensive. Terrain is expensive. Mats are expensive. So don't break your back spending money on the hobby side for other people. I think this is a good opportunity to get the others involved, right? You're coordinating these things. Can other people donate tables? Can other people help you print terrain for the store? Can you spend $10 for a tournament? Like I usually do this. It only costs me $10. I'll get some tangerines or mandarins, some granola bars, and then water bottles. The store will gladly sell these things to people, but they're paying in to this tournament. So I don't like my people having to spend more money that way. And if it only costs me $10, it's not breaking the bank to give everybody a water bottle and a granola bar and an orange. I don't know. But if you're playing Warhammer for 8 hours straight with a 30-minute lunch break, yeah, I think you're going to need a snack. You're going to need some sugar or something healthy. So that's what I do to compensate for my store not having like a water fountain, and making sure it's clean is important too, because the biggest question after you've got a space and you know where you're going to play and you know how to support that, you should be thinking, what can I support in this space? Like I said before, if it gets really hot when there's a lot of people in the room, maybe don't run like a massive tournament. Maybe that's not good. Maybe people could get sick or worse, injured if it gets too hot, and you don't want to sweat while you're doing this also, right? So place, that's what I'd have to say for place, and I'll leave it there. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave those down in the no, that's my job, the description. Leave it down in the comments below. Like and subscribe too. I'm gonna make more videos like this, swamp talks, also stuff about orcs, Warhammer in general if you're interested, and also go check out my tournament videos. I just ran a tournament a couple weeks ago and we live streamed those games. They are available. You can watch those. Any feedback on those is great too. So let's talk about communication. Since I'm communicating to you that you should like and subscribe, let's talk about communication between yourself and the other aspects of community. So update people regularly. Please don't tell them a week before your tournament that there's a tournament coming up. You should probably say something regularly, right? Like, we run these events all the time on this day. Send out reminders once a week before the event, even. Tell people how the event went. Take photos. Show people. If people who didn't go can't see that people had fun, then they're not going to know that people had fun. So share that stuff. Um, Safety and welcomeness for communication. When I talk about this, I mean, if there is some kind of public discord, I think you do need to police a little bit, right? I think, as with all things, there's going to be bad actors. Identifying those people, keeping track of them. I would say this for the tournaments too. If you know someone's a known cheater, if you know that everybody has a bad time playing in this against a certain person, communicate that with that person. It'll go a long way for them and for you. Because people aren't going to keep coming back if they come and they get cheated by this guy every time, or if they are the cheater, nobody's going to want to play with them. And I don't think that's great either. So communicate with those people, make everyone feel welcome, make sure safety and fairness are priorities. So I already briefly touched on sportsmanship too. Tell people at the start of your events, what is sportsmanship to you? I always put a little disclaimer in my BCP about what I think sportsmanship attitude is, or what is the sportsmanship mindset. I clearly define that for people. It's being honest, being fair, being transparent, and having information available to you. These are important things to communicate, right? Like, how do you get your rules? When are all the updates for this event cut off, right? Things like that. Or even, what proxies can they use before an event? Or what hot fixes? Because sometimes the game is broken. Sometimes you get to change things. So communicating what you're doing is important in that regard too, and expectations. You should also communicate with store owners. So if you don't work for the store you're organizing at, communicate with management, right? What is price support like? What's going to be the buy-in for the players? What can and can't they do with their stuff? Where are they going to leave their stuff? Parking. These are all important things. Other local organizers, so if you know there's other gaming groups in the area, talk to them, see if you can collaborate, see if you can organize around them so you're not stepping on people's toes. If you know someone runs a tournament, right, the same goes for communicating with other TOs. If you know someone runs a tournament on the last Saturday of every month, don't put your tournament on the same day. If you expect the same people to play, right? Like, we're not trying to step on toes. We're trying to build community. There should be something available for anybody anytime they want to play. So facilitate that. If someone wants to play a tournament this weekend, but yours isn't for another 3 weeks, tell them about the one happening down south or in the other town. Whatever works. As long as they have the space, as long as they have the time. And consistency and transparency always, right? So if you're going to make a ruling, communicate it. If someone doesn't like how you made that judge call, share the information that you're using to make that decision with that person. I know that sounds easy to do, and in that moment it might be more complicated, but it's not that hard. With some practice, once you've done enough of it, it should be second nature, right? Being consistent, being open, and communicating with everybody. So just to wrap things up with you, I've got some takeaways at the end here. So remember those 4 pillars of community building or organizing, right? You have yourself, others or your people. I think your people is probably better. Place and communication, right? Those are the 4 pillars. I think these 4 things are going to carry you far. But some last comments, last things to take away, I'd say don't overthink shit. Right? Like, it doesn't have to be more complex than what you're capable of doing, right? So Don't start by trying to run a GT or run a 30-man event. Start by just doing a community night if you haven't done any organizing or event planning in the past. Start small. Make it easy for yourself and make it easier for others, right? Do what you can when you can. So just like I do my YouTube once a week, right? I'm not doing the video every day at a certain time. It's planning, right? Like I'm going to write my script this day and then I'm going to work on editing the video the next day. Take it a bite at a time. Do what you can when you can, because life can make things complicated. If you can't run a tournament 1 month, take the month off, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Nobody's going to be upset if, you have to be away for family for a month so you can't run your event. That's fine. They're going to understand. So do what you can when you can. Don't overwork yourself. Don't overwork others. That being said, too, don't be afraid to ask for help. Ask questions. If you don't understand some new ruling, right? Like I said, 11th edition 40K just came out. I've been talking to TOs nonstop since the core rules dropped because there's so many confusing interactions or, little things that people overlook that are probably going to be a big deal in a tournament setting that you have to discuss. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Ask for help from your players or from other TOs or the other event organizers. They're going to be willing to help you because they want the community to grow just like you if they're doing it the right way. Right? I think we all want to see it grow. And find the people who want to help build with you. You're not doing this alone. Other TOs, other people at the local store, 3D printers, people online, other YouTube channels, right? Like, how can we build this thing together? How can we do it as a group to build a stronger community and not lose this thing we built, not lose this thing we've been, enjoying and being a part of for so long? Like everybody is here for everyone else. That's my belief. And I take that with me. And that's, I think, why my events and why my tournaments are successful is because I want people to have fun. That's why I'm doing it. And these people want to build this thing with me. So they've contributed too. And I couldn't do it without them. I'm doing it for them and I couldn't do it without them. And I think that speaks for itself, honestly. I'll leave it there. Not much else to say, but thank you for watching. If you stuck around this long, like or subscribe for more stuff like this. This was Hunter from Gator Games, and remember, whoa.